Okay, this is 4.2. We're going to talk about some review information before we go ahead and begin adding and subtracting polynomials. So let's talk about terms. Terms can be, you can have one term. One term means that it is not separated by an addition or subtraction sign because there's only one. We call this a monomial because mono means one. An example of that would be 2x, or you could have just a number. That's a monomial. Or you could have a crazy combination of stuff like 3x squared y. Still a monomial, still only one term. Then you get into two terms, which we call binomials. Bi meaning two. Binomials mean they're separated by a single addition or subtraction sign. So let's say we have negative 2x plus 5. So it's separated in the middle by an addition sign. Or you could have x squared minus 3xy, separated by a subtraction sign that time. Then we can have three terms. We call these trinomials. So like x squared minus 3x plus 2. Or you can have something super crazy like 2xy plus 7yz squared minus 4x. Still just a trinomial because each addition or subtraction sign separates it with another term. Okay, the last one is called a polynomial. And a polynomial is the name that we give all of these types of things. Polynomial can be many terms. It can be 1 to infinity. So a monomial is considered a polynomial, a binomial, trinomial, and so on. So it could just be 2x. 2x is a polynomial. It could be 7xy minus 3x to the third plus 2xz minus 5x squared y. 4 terms, still polynomial. Okay, so then let's move on into coefficients. A coefficient is a numerical or constant quantity that's placed before and multiplying the variable in the algebraic expression. So one example of that is 3x. 3 is our constant because it's before the variable. Or negative 7x squared y. So the negative 7 is the coefficient or the constant multiplying to x squared and y. Well, what happens if you don't have a number in front of it? What if you have x, y, z? Well, in front of this is still invisible 1. And invisible 1 would be your coefficient. All right, so let's get to the adding polynomials. So when you see an adding polynomials, it's going to be in this horizontal setting. And you know it's addition because this sign is between the parentheses. That tells you addition. So it says align the terms in descending order. Descending order means a squared, a first power, no power. Okay, so you want to go from the highest exponent to no exponent. So that's exactly how we have it here. A squared to the first power to no power. And we have the second one lined up exactly the same way. Except that this one was in a different order. So we wanted to start with the highest one first. That's why we put it there. Then we went to the next highest, so we put it there. And then we went to the one that didn't have an exponent, and we put it there. Then it says add down. So we want to make sure that we have invisible ones in there if we need them. So 1 plus 5 is 6w squared. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7w. And -1 plus a -5 is -6. There you go. Okay, so let's look at this one. Now remember how I said we would line them up? So usually I take the second one and I align it underneath the first one. So that would be p squared plus 3p minus 1. And in front of this p is invisible 1, and in front of this p is invisible 1, and we add down. So -4 plus 1 is -3p squared. -1 plus 3 is 2p. And 9 minus 1, or 9 plus a -1, is +8. Okay, so on this next example, usually we would take this one and we would bring it this way, except if you notice the first one only has 2 terms. The second one has 3. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it underneath the other one. So underneath the m squared, I'll put 2m squared. And underneath the -5m, I'll put plus 6m. And underneath the constant, I will put 0 because we don't have anything else to add to that. So we'll just put a 0. Now in front of this is invisible 1. So that's 1m squared plus 2m squared. So that's 3m squared. -5 plus 6 is plus 1m, but the 1 is invisible, so we don't have to write it. And 7 plus 0 is 7. Okay, we're going to save that last example. We'll do that one in class together. Let's move on to subtracting polynomials. So to subtract polynomials, well, first of all, I think I have a piece of the notes missing. These would be written as 5a squared plus 6a plus 2 minus 7a squared minus 7a plus 5. So once again, we want to line these up just like we did before in descending order. And thankfully, these are both in descending order. And then the second one is that you change the sign of the second one. So if you look at this one right here, I started off with 7a squared minus 7a plus 5. I now have -7a plus 7, or -7a squared plus 7a plus 5. That's because I distributed this negative sign. That's a -1, and I distributed that, and that's how this changed sign. That's how you get rid of the subtraction sign to get it back to adding. Because once you change the sign right here, then you can add down. So once we do that, we have 5 plus a -7, which is a -2. We have 6 plus 7, which is 13. And then we have 2 plus 5, which is 7. And those were all in the same columns. So the first one got the a squared, the second one got the a, and the last one didn't get anything. Okay, so sometimes this is a little bit easier. By the way, we knew it was subtraction because of that negative sign right there. So let's look at this one. We want to line them up underneath. So let's first put this in order. So remember, we're going to have to distribute this. So as we write this down, this would be -2x squared. This would be -8x, and it would be plus 4, because you are changing the sign of each term inside of that. And then this is your invisible one right here. So then you add down. 6 plus a -2 is 4x squared. -1 plus -8 is -9x. And 1 plus 4 is 5. +5. Okay, so let's look at this one. We're going to distribute that in, so we want to align this where it needs to go. So this one doesn't have a k squared, so that gets a 0 k squared. And then we distribute that negative into the 2k, so we get negative 2k, and distribute the negative into the 3, and you get negative 3. Add down. 4 plus 0 is 4k squared. 8 plus a negative 2 is 6k, and 2 minus 3 is negative 1. All right, don't forget to do your odd numbers in class while we're practicing, and also do your review problems, which you should be able to do at any time.